The smell of burning cedar mingles with blood and betrayal. It is the 21st day of June, 1582, and Kyoto burns. Honuzi Temple groans under the weight of flame. Pillars crack, lacquer bubbles. Ash falls like black snow across tatami soaked in crimson. Oda Nobunaga, the demon king of the sixth heaven, kneels in the inner rooms where shadows dance with firelight. Outside, a storm of steel crashes against wooden walls. The roar of men who have chosen treachery over oath. Through smoke that claws the lungs and burns the eyes, a figure moves with deadly purpose, taller than any warrior in the corridor, skin dark as midnight, a sword set low at his side. His name, carved into legend by fire and steel, is Yasuke. The beams above begin to glow like coals. Sparks drift like fireflies seeking escape. History narrows to a single point of light, a moment balanced on the edge of a blade, and then to silence that echoes through centuries. Who was this African warrior who stood in Kyoto's fire beside Japan's most feared daimyo? How did a man, born far beyond the eastern horizon, come to carry a warrior's blade in Nobunaga's House of Revolution? Why did a lord infamous for suspicion grant him trust, rank, and a place at his table? And when the flames of Honuzi devoured the dawn, what became of the first African recorded in Japan's chronicles to hold a warrior's place? Tonight, we walk the corridors of smoke and follow the footprints he left in ash and memory, to test legend against record, to weigh myth against the cold weight of truth, to ask what it truly means, in a land of rigid hierarchy and ancient bloodlines, to be called samurai. Stay with me as we uncover the true story of Yasuke, the African samurai who fought for Japan, and in fighting became eternal. The year is 1579, and Japan bleeds from 1,000 wounds. For more than a century, Sengoku storms have ground provinces against provinces like millstones crushing grain. Warlords rise and fall with the seasons. Temples once sacred become fortresses of ambition. Villages burn. Farmers hide beneath fields turned to mud and ash. The sky itself seems tired of watching men spill each other's blood. This is the age of the gun, the age of change, the age when tradition bends or breaks beneath innovation. Porutogaru traders have brought more than black powder. They have brought ideas that explode in the minds of those brave enough to listen. Jesuits speak of a single god. Merchants offer strange cloth and firearms, and the old order shifts under the weight of foreign winds. At the center stands Oda Nobunaga, breaker of temples and customs, the man determined to unify Japan under iron and fire. He burns as brightly as the cities he destroys, a lord who sees destiny not as inheritance, but as something taken by force and vision. Among the black-robed travelers walking through Kyushu and Kinai, there is one no Japanese has ever seen before. Not gold, not muskets, but a man whose very existence will challenge the foundations of everything Japan believes about itself. Welcome to Japan Rewind, where we uncover the hidden truths behind samurai, castles, and legends of Japan. Stay with me, because what happened next changed everything. Arrival. The ship rides a pearl gray dawn like a ghost emerging from dreams. Timbers hiss as they meet the current. Sails snap in morning wind like banners of arrival. Aretsusan Doro Varinia no, Jesuit visitor to the Indies, steps onto Japanese soil with the measured pace of a man who carries empires in his prayers. Behind him, towering over Portuguese sailors weathered by salt and storm, over Japanese stevedores bent beneath cargo, walks the figure who will stamp a new shadow on Kyoto's streets. His name, as it reaches the chronicles written in careful brushstrokes, is Yasuke. Where he was born, the records do not bind with certainty. Mozambique, Sudan, or somewhere along the vast routes the Jesuits called the Indies. Scholars argue. Sources remain thin as morning mist, but the man stands solid as stone. Salt still clings to his skin from months at sea. His eyes adjust to a light that feels both foreign and familiar. The air tastes of cedar and smoke and possibility. The moment his feet touch Japanese earth, the world tilts on its axis. Crowds gather until roofs groan under their weight. Doors splinter as the curious press forward like waves against a seawall. Whispers split and multiply. A man dark as night has come to Kyoto, a giant from lands beyond the edge of maps. Children cling to their mothers. Merchants peer from behind paper screens. Priests murmur that perhaps a guardian spirit has taken human form. Nobunaga hears the rumor carried on the wind of gossip, and his reaction is not fear, but fascination. He summons the visitor with the imperious gesture of a man accustomed to having the world bend to his curiosity. He does not recoil when Yasuke enters his presence. He studies him like a scholar examines a rare manuscript, and in that study, something shifts. A bridge forms between two worlds that neither fully understands, yet both instinctively respect. Water is brought in lacquered bowls. Cloth is rough over skin. Attendants scrub with the thoroughness of men who understand that their lord's questions must be answered completely. The water runs clear, the color does not change, and something fundamental shifts in the air between them. A moment tilts like a blade finding its balance. Wonder becomes welcome, and Japan's fiercest visionary begins to ask questions no one else would dare. Nobunaga's house. Days become weeks. Weeks bend toward months. The strangeness thins. The work remains. Yasuke learns the cadence of the language, the angles of the bow, the etiquette of rooms where a wrong glance can become a fatal line. He rides, drills, watches, and is watched in turn. Every movement is a lesson, every silence a test. The weight of another culture presses on his shoulders like armor that never quite fits. Yet he adapts, patiently, precisely, as if forging himself anew with each sunrise. Then history inhales. Nobunaga accepts him into service, grants a residence, a stipend, and a sword at his side. In the language of that age, this is a warrior's standing, the first foreigner recorded in Japan's chronicles to be welcomed at that level. Evenings run long in chambers lit by oil lamps that cast dancing shadows on painted screens. Nobunaga's questions reach past horizons, lands, peoples, weapons, the texture of a world beyond any map in Kyoto. Yasuke answers carefully, measures more, speaks less than he knows, for he understands that power listens most closely in silence. Across the realm, lords whisper. If Nobunaga can fold a man from the far side of the oceans into his order, what else might he change? For some, the sight is proof of possibility. For others, a warning that the world they know is already ending. Service and proximity. What follows is not written in trumpet blasts, but in ledgers, in audiences, in rooms where decisions move faster than cavalry. Yasuke serves within Nobunaga's orbit, at Aduchi, in the capital, a visible proof of a lord who studies the world beyond the islands. He carries messages, stands at councils, learns the dangerous grammar of silence. Records keep their distance. They note a stipend, a residence, a sword, and presence. In Nobunaga's house, in Kyoto's streets, in days gathering toward fire. Across the realm, the sight of him says as much as any proclamation, that this house will measure worth by deed. Yasuke learns to live where power listens for what is not said, to bow just so, to hold the breath between words, to move through thresholds where the wrong footfall can break a life, to read the spaces between gestures, to hear the meanings that hide beneath politeness, to stand ready when history demands its price. The Honuzi Incident. Dawn, 21st of June, 1582. Kyoto breathes smoke before it wakes. Akechi Mitsuhide has made his choice in the darkness before sunrise. 13,000 men move by drum and dust toward a temple not built for sieges. The first volley breaks the morning like thunder splitting the sky. Arrows whisper through paper screens. Matchlock balls punch through wood. Yasuke awakens to chaos, to the sound of his world ending in fire and steel. Smoke crawls through corridors like a living shadow. Men shout prayers and curses in the same breath. Walls shudder as musket fire blooms through sliding screens. The temple becomes a furnace, and inside it, loyalty itself is put to the torch. He runs the corridors he knows by touch, blade low and ready. In the inner rooms, the world has narrowed to one will, one choice. Nobunaga sits with his decision already made, the Demon King facing his final enemy with calm. Steel finds its final purpose, and the man who dreamed of unifying Japan passes into smoke and legend. The fighting staggers into Kyoto's streets, to Niziu, where Nobunaga's son makes his own last choices. When it ends, The ledgers record a man captured and delivered to the Jesuits by Akechi's men, spared, returned to the black-robed priests who had once walked him into Nobunaga's sight. After that, the line goes faint as morning mist, and then it ends. Legacy and myth. What became of Yasuke after the fire consumed his world? The documents refuse to say with certainty. Some fragments place him with Nobunaga's son at Niziu. Others suggest he was returned to missionary hands. And then, silence. Yet silence does not stop stories. It multiplies them like seeds scattered by wind. Kabuki imagines warriors whose skin marks them as foreign but whose hearts beat with Japanese rhythm. Tales speak of a giant who could fell 10 men in a single cut. And around winter hearths, storytellers whisper of a foreign blade that once guarded a demon king. A blade that glowed red in the light of betrayal. For centuries, he survives as fragments scattered across the landscape of memory. A line in a letter, a note in a chronicle, a name in a list that means nothing until someone stops and wonders. Japan turns toward peace under the Tokugawa order, but the ember of his name refuses to go out. Symbol and rebirth, the modern world opens its eyes and finds him standing where the smoke once was. Books emerge from presses, essays from journals. Anime brings him to life in vivid color. Painters, poets, and filmmakers rediscover the warrior who crossed oceans to serve a dream larger than himself. In Yasuke, nations see mirrors they did not expect. Japan, once closed by choice and circumstance, studies the image of an African warrior inside one of its most electric chapters. A reminder that isolation was never as complete as textbooks suggested. In classrooms and studios, in stories and songs, his name returns, not as myth, but as mirror. A reflection of how far the world has traveled and how much of its courage still owes itself to those who crossed impossible distances. Audiences far from Kyoto hear the bell note of recognition. That honor has no border. That courage speaks fluently in every language. His story becomes a bridge between past and present, between East and West. He returns not as curiosity, but as question and promise. What else have we mistaken for impossibility? Because we failed to turn the page? How many other bridges have we overlooked? Because they did not fit the stories we told ourselves about the past. In the end, Yasuke's greatest stroke was not cut against an enemy's guard. It was cut against certainty itself, against the comfortable assumptions that limit what we believe possible. By standing where no one expected him to stand, by earning a warrior's place through deed, not origin, he reminds us that the human story is written in more languages than we know. Listen, and you can still hear it across the centuries. The whisper of steel through morning air, the soft fall of ash on temple stone, the echo of footsteps that refuse to fade. A man walking out of the record and into legend, carrying the proof that some stories are too important to die. This has been Japan Rewind, where legends never truly die. They wait in the dark, patient as stone, for someone brave enough to remember them. If this story moved you, subscribe for more tales from the edge of history. Leave a comment below. Share what part of Yasuke's journey spoke to you most. And if you believe these stories deserve to be remembered, give this video a like so others can find them too. Until next time, walk with purpose, listen for the echoes, and never stop seeking the truth behind the legend. Sayonara.